Hello everybody, my name is Dan Blackwell, this is Peace Beats Films and welcome to my reaction to the Ultimate Dimash Guide Part 3 by Leela C. The first two have been really informative and educational, learnt a lot about how Dimash what his process is and his thoughts and feelings on music and all the things that kind of make him so special. So I'm really excited to get into part 3. We're going to be looking into studies, teachers, influences and producers. So I think this is going to be a really interesting one, just like the first two. Let's just jump straight into it and see what this is all about.
Можешь спеть? Вот скажите, вот такой феноменальный голос. Вы что-то делаете? Может быть, какие-то секретные упражнения, там, задерживать дыхание? Есть что-то?
Да, там ничего особенного.
Родился, как бы, и все.
Вообще ничего особенного. Просто надо заниматься 20 лет музыкой. И с 5 лет надо ходить в музыкальную детскую школу. Потом надо поступить в музыкальный колледж. Потом надо поступить в консерваторию или в академию искусств. Потом надо поступить в магистратуру. Так там все легко просто.
Now, it's funny that because the interviewers, they're not meaning to be insulting or anything like that, and you can kind of understand their questions. Is it something you were born with? Were you just born amazing? Or is there some special secret, some magic sauce, some special potion, some secret technique that makes you this good? And when in reality, it's no, he's just worked really hard for a really long time. Dedication, work ethic, and it's there is no kind of fast track. It's the people who are really good, who have worked really hard at being that good. They've put they say in order to become a master of something, you need to put 10,000 hours into anything. If you put 10,000 hours into doing jigsaw puzzles, you're going to be a master of jigsaw puzzles. If you put 10,000 hours into writing a song, you'll be a master of writing a song. That's what they say, and I think it keeps going beyond that, and however many hours Dimash has put into music and his singing, I'm sure it's far more than 10,000 hours. So, it must get a little bit grating for him, to be fair, to kind of be asked these questions a lot. You know, it does sort of diminish a little bit. It's like, no, this was just hard work and dedication that got me here, and it's not that I'm like superhuman. I've worked really hard for this, and I can imagine it would feel like somebody asking these kinds of questions a little bit like, you know, don't take that away kind of thing. I wasn't just given this gift. I couldn't just sing like this instantly. I had to work really, really hard to be as good as I am. I think he answered that really, really well, to be honest. I mean, it says kind of humorously, and there is an element of humour to it, to what he's saying, but he's right. He's just, all you've got to do is just study for 20 years and work really hard, get a master's, and do all these things. I thought he handled that really well, and it's a really, really good point that I think a lot of people kind of overlook when it comes to musicians and artists. It's like, no, they're not just lucky. It hasn't just fallen in their lap. Artists that are overnight successes. It took them 10 years to become an overnight success. To become an overnight success. Luck favours the prepared. Let's keep it going.
5 жасыма дейін бала есебінде өмір сүрдім. 5 жастан бастап қазір 30 жасқа келдім. 25 жыл музыкадан дәріс алумен келе жатырмын. Биыл докторлық дәрежемді қорғаймын. Лос-Анджелеске оқуға түсуге ұсыныс түсті. Енді режиссура мамандығы бойынша енді бір екі ойлы болып жүргем. Грант ұсынылды. Мына үлкен ағаларымызбен, бәрімен, қасымдағы бауырлармен ақылдасып отырып, келесі жылы арман қуып жүрген бір балаға сол грант бұйырсын деп, сондай шешімге келіп, осы әңгімеге тоқтап қойған болатынбыз.
That's really nice. And I think it makes sense from what Dimash was saying in the last video. And he can spread his wings into all these different art forms, but he is primarily a master of music. That's his main thing. And I would imagine from Dimash's point of view, having a foray into film, directing your music videos, all that kind of thing, that's one thing, that's one amazing thing. But then to go fully into it, to study it, to dedicate all that time, would that take away from his music? Would that affect his music career in a negative way? I think there's a lot to consider there, but it's really nice that he was able to kind of direct it in the direction of somebody who really, really needed it, who was totally 100% in with filmmaking. I imagine somebody on his team that he works with who kind of does his films as well. I don't know. I'd be interested to know a bit more about who that was and how that all worked out, and what they kind of then went on to do after that. Very, very nice.
Лучиано Паваротти деген үлкен атақты опера әншісі әлемнің номер 1 дауысы бола тұрып, номер 1 теноры бола тұрып, өлгенше жасы 70-ке келгенше мұғаліммен дайындалған. Өйткені сырт жақтан құлақ керек. Адам, әнші өзін ешқашанда дұрыс естімейді. Оған әрқашанда дауысы әдемі болу керек. Вокалмен сол бала кезден шығармашылықты әбден тоқтатқан жерге айналысу керек. Неге десеңіздер, вокал бір-ақ рет дауысты қойып алып, одан кейін сол мұғалімге айналыспай кететіндей мамандық емес. Өмірдің соңына дейін, әншілік мансаптың соңына дейін айналысып тұру керек мұғаліммен. Немесе адам өзі жаттығу керек. Егер де құлағы жақсы еститін болса, кемшіліктерді. Есімде соны 99 немесе 2000 жылдары 4-5 жас шамасында мен Ахмет Жұбанов атындағы Ақтөбе музыкалық колледжінің жанынан құрылған балалар мектебі бар. Сол мектепке сол 4-5 жас шамасында ең алғашқы рет қазіргі таңда шетелдік мұғаліммен айналысып жүрмін вокалдан, бірақ ол кісінің алдында өйтіп қобалжамын, Марат ағаның алдында қобалжып бастадым да кәдімгідей. Ойлаймын, ағайдың бір кәдімгідей мысы басады әлемге дейін. И я неимоверно благодарен своему педагогу за то, что он воспитал нас не как певца, а прежде всего он старался воспитать нас духовное качество, человеческие качества. Он всегда нам говорил, что твоя миссия не стать самым хорошим певцом. Даже если ты станешь отличным вокалистом, прежде всего ты должен оставаться человеком, и хорошим. Вот. Я запомнил эти слова на всю жизнь. Я помню, что мой педагог особо старался не обращать внимание на мои победы на международных конкурсах и всегда ставил на место, типа, занимайся, ты еще не добился ничего, давай.
Staying humble is an important thing, and to have a mentor like that is absolutely fantastic, and it's really nice when it can spread beyond whatever the subject is they're teaching you into a holistic view of music, of your art or whatever it is, and at the root of whatever you do. And this goes, it's not just creative, you could be a plumber or a builder, any kind of trade or art or whatever it is you do. Being a good person is at the heart of everything. If you're not, then people aren't going to want to work with you for a start, and it devalues whatever work you do. If somebody builds a wall and you remember them building it and they were horrible the whole time, you're always going to look at that wall and think, ugh, it was built by that horrible person. If you listen to a song and you know that the person who wrote it is just an awful person or a diva and it's just horrible to people, you're not going to enjoy that song. And beyond all of that, being a good person is just fundamentally the most important thing anybody should ever strive for, right? Be a good person, pursue what makes you happy, and try to help others along the way. Like it's a really straightforward kind of set of rules to live your life by, isn't it? But it's something that's so important to, I think it can be more difficult for musicians who are on a crazy platform like Dimash, where you've got so much success, to keep yourself humble. You need a little extra, because if everybody all the time is treating you like some kind of god, it's you're going to need to have these strong moral values deeply instilled from the very beginning, and always have people around you who keep your feet on the ground, who keep you level, which Dimash clearly has. He clearly has a lot of really good friends and family around him at all times that help him to kind of stay grounded and not kind of rise above, because it must be incredibly easy to fall into that trap with massive success. It must be absolutely crazy. So I think there was a lot in what he said there, and the importance of that, and yeah, just so wonderful to have his first vocal coach be such a positive influence, not just on his music but his life, and that's the way it should be. That's just really cool.
Біздің ағай, Марат ағай, ешқашанда баланы асыра сілтеп мақтамайтын, ешқашанда. Байқаулардан келіп жүргеннен кейін ағай маған 4 қойып бастады экзамендерге. Бәріне 5, Димаш куда берген, у вас 4 дейді. Үндемеймін тағы да. Жарайды деймін, тағы бір экзамен болады, 4 қояды. Содан кейін әбден колледжде бітіргелі жатқан кезімізде менің мына құжатым бар ғой, зачетка, соны бермейтін маған ешқашанда. Содан кейін барып колледжді бітіргеннен кейін зачетканы алып қарасам, ол 4 қоймаған, 5 қоя берген. Сонда мен дейтін бірнеше жыл алдаған болып тұр. Бірақ соның арқасында мына шабыттануға деген кішкене бір рефлекс сияқты бір нәрсе қалып қойды деп ойлаймын. Сол себептен ағайымызға мынандай ерекше методикасымен бізді дәріптеп тәрбиелегендігі үшін шын жүректен рахмет айтамын.
Maestro, just 1 second. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I want to use this opportunity to say greatest respect and a lot of thanks to my coach, who teach me, who met me, like today's Dimash.
That's really incredible, and I love how he had the opportunity to go and actually perform with him so much as well. It's like part of this whole journey, and I think it was interesting the sort of special technique of telling Dimash he had B's and when he really had A's, because he recognised that Dimash was one of those students who would benefit from that. And I think what makes a really good teacher or mentor is a teacher who can look at every individual student, child, or whatever age, and work out how they learn and what will motivate them. And sort of it's a very personal thing, teaching and being taught. It's a real connection, and a good teacher will see what works, because for a student like Dimash to think he's not doing well enough will push him. Whereas another student, if he did that same technique, it could really crush their spirit. Yet that student had the potential to be an incredible singer. They had anxieties or hang-ups or something from some other aspect of their life that you know, they would go the complete opposite way to that and be like, B, I needed that to be an A, and wouldn't be able to handle it and would actually sort of leave, or, you know, would want to stop having lessons. So it's so important for teachers to kind of really connect with the student and hone into how they learn and how best to communicate that. And so that's, I think, why Dimash had a really special teacher there, because he took that extra time, went that extra mile to work out exactly how Dimash would learn best. Yeah, so I think that's very fortuitous that their paths crossed and he had him as his first teacher, because your first teacher is very, very important, you know, because your first teacher isn't just teaching you things, they're teaching you how to learn, and you can take that on to every kind of set of education in life, throughout life. Once you learn how to learn, then you can learn anything, in a way, you know. So that first teacher is such an important thing.
Yes. 手扶在这儿 ，Go。Very good. Yes. 但是这个喉结还应该再稳定一点。Okay. Very, very, very good. Yeah.
This fine-tuning of the voice, if you think of it, if you've sort of been to the gym, kind of worked out, something like that, you have like your main muscles, where that's kind of, you know, you're using your lungs and your diaphragm, you're learning to sing. If you think of that as your like major muscle groups, like your core, your chest, your, you know, arms and everything, what they're doing there is they're fine-tuning the small muscles in the joints, in the wrists and everything, all the supporting muscles, all those tiny little muscles that can often go untrained. Is they're honing in on those, and how can we control those smaller muscles and develop those in order to have so much more control if that makes sense. You know, that's kind of how I see it. Is there's like levels of precision to singing, and like the techniques of singing, and so you might be able to sing, but you might be singing wrong in a way that's potentially damaging your voice or putting strain, or you can only hold it for so long because of your technique. So there's so much to learn with mouth movement, with control of the throat, with control of the chest and the diaphragm. There's so much to it, and I love this this kind of this full view Dimash has with all these little muscle groups, is to sort of explore every single one, every kind of single vocal style, and just see what is possible, what can be achieved with the voice. And you know, I think that's it's such an exciting, limitless way to look at singing, isn't it? To not put any restrictions on yourself, because I think a lot of singers probably psychologically pigeon themselves a little bit and go, okay, singing in this style is the style where I sound best, so I'm never gonna, you know, really leave my comfort zone there. I know I can sing well here, but I can't sing choral, I can't sing jazz or whatever it may be. And so they don't explore it. And I think that's what I love about Dimash, is he doesn't have these mental constraints that so many have, where he feels free to explore everything without the fear of the unknown, the fear of going into a new vocal style and not being amazing at it. He's not worried about that. He's going to go straight into it and learn it and work really hard at it. And yeah, there's clearly a great mental freedom in him in that regard.
В первую очередь воспитывался на казахской музыке. Я горжусь тем, что у меня хоть и академическая вокальная школа, но меня обучал казах. И все равно есть какой-то момент, где проскальзывает именно моя казахская сторона в моем пении. Я меломан, я люблю любую музыку. Я могу послушать рэп, я могу послушать тяжелый рок, металл, и после этого начать слушать оперу.
Почему-то многие люди думают, что я люблю слушать и петь только классические произведения. Но на самом деле я люблю и рэп, я люблю и рок, я люблю и джаз, соул, фанк, оперу и попсу. Вот. Из рэперов Эминем. Вы знаете, да, его, да? И, конечно же, наших казахских композиторов.
I really thought he was going to say Eminem there, because Eminem, of what I was just talking about before, of that constant exploration, particularly in Eminem's more recent kind of decade, like with Rap God and all that kind of stuff, he's an artist as well, like Dimash, who has that kind of mental freedom and desire to push his craft. He's a rapper who's always trying to push the boundaries, who's trying to see what can I do with this? What can I make rhyme? How can I put words together in a way that hasn't been done before? A pioneer, you know? And so I'm really not surprised when he said Eminem. I thought he was going to say that. It makes a lot of sense. I can see how he would be a big inspiration to Dimash. And I think it's really good for him to be saying this to all these kids and stuff, because, and just generally, it's so important. I think so many people get wrapped up in one genre and go, oh, I like this kind of music and that's it. And they're not open-minded to other kinds of music. And they just think it's all noise or whatever, you know. So there's a lot of sneering from genre to genre. There's a lot of like, oh, you're into that kind of music. There's a lot of snobbery, you know. And so for somebody like Dimash, who is so classically trained, so of the classical world in that sense, to validate genres that many in the classical world would kind of look down at, I think that's a really, really cool thing for him to do that, you know. And he's right, you know, like rock music and rap music and stuff, it's very good music. There's a lot of very good music out there, in these genres. And when I say good music, I'm not talking about even, say, me necessarily liking it. It's just objectively good. There might be a song that I hear that's from a certain genre or whatever, that I'm not keen on, but musically you can tell it's actually really well put together. I mean, that rarely happens. There's a lot. There's not much I don't like, to be honest. I find all music very exciting, and I myself used to have a very closed mind. I was like, I would only listen to certain genres, and then someone would come along, put pop on, I'd be like, oh no, pop's no good, pop's not real music. And they said to me, they were like, but what if, you listen to Katy Perry or Lady Gaga or something like that, and there was a chord progression that was used that really inspired your writing, but you would deny yourself that opportunity to be open to all musics that could influence you, just out of snobbery of writing everything off because it's mainstream, because it's not rock, it's not cool or whatever, and that really kind of opened my eyes and ears to how I could appreciate music differently. And it's nice to see Dimash saying that, and saying it to the young generations as well, just like, listen to everything. If you want to get into music, listen to everything. Don't put any walls up for yourself or any boundaries. Just throw yourself into it.
Оказалось, что Димаш, так же как и я, обожает американскую музыку и находит много общего между культурами.
Понимаете, в казахской музыке есть какие-то джазовые моменты, потому что у нас ритм часто встречается 6/8. И
синкопированное, может,
да, да. И казаки тоже любят петь очень свободно. Хотел сказать просто, что у нас тоже свободная форма есть, и там тоже свободная форма есть.
Вот если скажут, Димаш, вот пришел на американский фильм, говорят, Димаш, а вот какая ваша самая любимая американская песня? Что вы поете не на сцене?
Конечно, это Майкл Джексон. Конечно же, это Богемская рапсодия и Фредди Меркьюри и все, что с ним связано. Конечно же, это Селин Дион.
Фрэнк Синатра?
Of course. Я очень обожаю творчество Дэвида Фостера. Майкл Джексон, Селин Дион, Лучано Паваротти, Андреа Бочелли. Булар бул жарамай мен.
Really, I dreamed about this moment from my child. Yes.
We do it again, okay?
Okay.
Again?
Yeah. It's already.
That's really nice. What an amazing list of influences. And I've been thinking Michael Jackson was a big influence for a long time. It's the first time I've sort of seen him say it. But I've seen a couple of videos recently of Dimash's that I've done reactions to on my main channel, Peace Beats with Dan Blackwell, if you want to check those out. And on two of the last ones I did, I was like, very Michael Jackson. The moves, the style, there was just something I was like, yeah, he's definitely a big Michael Jackson fan. And yeah, it's the classics, isn't it? Pavarotti, Frank Sinatra, Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury is, yeah, incredible range, incredible the way he worked a stage, and the charisma, and who doesn't love Freddie Mercury? And Lara Fabian, I've done some reactions to her as well. She is an amazing singer, beautiful songs, and I haven't seen their duet together, so I would really like to, if you could let me know what that video is, perhaps I could do a reaction to that on the other channel. That would be really, really cool. But yeah, Lara Fabian's awesome.
все до сих пор идет.
Really? In Budapest, my dreams come true because all my life, from my childhood time, I had a dream to meet with Placido Domingo and to work with him together. And when I was 5 years old, I had a VHC with his concert. So I come to music because of him. Менің продюсерім жоқ, және де менің ойымша продюсерім болмайды ешқашанда. Қазіргі таңда болмайды. Ол кісілерді қатты сыйлаймын. Қазақстандағы үздік продюсерлердің бәрін де жақсы танимын, жақсы сыйлаймын, жұмыстарын қатты бағалаймын. Бірақ дегенмен мен ешқашанда өз басым продюсермен жұмыс жасай алмас едім. Өйткені кішкене ғана кикілжің қасиеттерім бар. Өйткені біреу осы әнді айт, мына киімді ки, осындай бағытпен жүр деп айтса, мен оны тыңдай алмайды екенмін. Жүректен шыққан қалауым қандай, сонымен ғана жүретін адаммын. Сол себептен сөздің шыны керек, көп аса тыңдағанды ұнатпаймын.
Well, it's interesting because you get different kinds of producers with different dynamics. And I think for a producer to come in and start telling Dimash what to do at any age he was, it's probably not the best move because he is somebody who knows exactly what he wants, whereas a lot of musicians will come into a recording studio and not really have a clue. They're like, here's my song, they play it acoustic, and they go, how do we make this? It's like, okay, well, and the producer goes, well, I'm hearing piano, I'm hearing this kind of a beat, I think we can take some influences from these genres, and I want maybe a shaker in this part to keep it going, and then they start laying everything out, and then give you a blueprint, and then direct the artists into eventually creating a single or an album or EP or whatever that the artist is happy with. But it's often the onus is on the producer to work out how to make that happen, use their knowledge as a producer to do that. Whereas Dimash already has a full idea of what he wants the drums to be, the bass sound to be. He's all in that. So yeah, I think the best course of action for him, if he were going to work with a producer, would be a kind of reverse relationship where the producer is just kind of managing the desk while he kind of leads the direction of what he wants. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like that's, you know, I think a lot of producers would be like, oh, brilliant. You know, I don't have to think so much on this job because it's always different. So yeah, I wonder exactly, because I know he works with his friend who is a producer, and is that like the only person he'll work with, that kind of thing, or is he completely shut down to producers? Interesting.
Стараюсь сотрудничать с теми людьми, которые предлагают мне хорошие условия. Как творческий человек, я должен чувствовать абсолютную свободу, чтобы я сам принимал какие-то решения, которые будут касаться моего творчества. Для того, чтобы расти, я должен попробовать творить, работать в этом направлении. Ну да, уже, наверное, ни для кого не секрет, что у меня в разных странах есть разные продюсеры, компании, с кем я сотрудничаю, но у нас нету такого, чтобы кто-то там кому-то обязан, там эксклюзивные права, вот это все. У нас просто все чисто на дружбе, на доверии.
С Игорем Яковлевичем у нас некоторые почему-то думают, что у нас есть какие-то контрактные обязательства. У нас просто все на доверии. Он пишет песни, я исполняю. Я работаю с двумя лейблами, вот, в Китае, в Америке, но я, как говорится, сам себе хозяин, мои права никто не ущемляет.
А зачем нам оркестр? Мы можем вдвоем.
Да.
I managed to be on my own all these years. I didn't belong to any producer in the world. I work at one partnership level with a label in China, and I made the music I wanted to make.
I feel he's talking about labels rather than producers, so I may have been a little bit kind of wires crossed with what I was saying before, because I was like, I'm sure he must work with producers. But record labels, that's an entirely different animal. Okay, so he's remained independent throughout his career, which is wonderful, because a label would exactly try and tell him what to do. It would all be focused on working out the demographics and appealing to them and changing your behavior, your clothing, your style. You're only going to sing this genre now so we can market it better. A label would not be good for Dimash at all. And more they've become quite redundant labels, you know. They front the money for a load of things, so that's good, to kind of get you out there. Maybe you'll get a lot of promotion, and then you're kind of indebted to them and enslaved to them, and you then have to do what they say a lot of the time. And if you want to put a song out that you really like, they say no. Somebody on the board said no, so it's not going out. You know, it's really not an ideal situation, and so many young musicians are just like, you know, looking to be signed. I remember when I was working as a session guitarist in the UK and working with lots of independent artists, their mission was to get signed, and then we would play with people who were signed, and I'm like, oh, it must be amazing, right? And they're like, no, it's horrible, absolutely hate it. Yeah, whether signed to Ireland, Decca, you know, whatever it was, they were always unhappy. And with the internet, with the distribution platforms now available and everything that you can do, if you work hard and have the work ethic, there's a lot you can do by yourself using YouTube and using Spotify and all these things. There's very little a label can do that you can't do yourself and remain free. So it's really, really awesome that Dimash has gone this route and not the more old-fashioned, potentially more tempting at first, because it's a bit of a cutting a corner in a way, just to have a load of money fronted to you, to feel like you have the backing of some major organisation gives you that confidence, you know. So I'm very, very glad that he didn't go that route, because I think we would see a very different and watered down Dimash had that been the case, which would be a very, very sad thing.
I now still working, right now still trying to do my best without any producers, without any labels, because of fans support. I think now I can work without any labels.
Once again, thank you so much, Leela C, for such an amazing editing job. That was really, really, really interesting. And again, I've learned a lot more about Dimash, and I think that's really brilliant, that bit at the end about his father running the production company and keeping it in-house. Why not, you know? And that's it. You've just got to have your own team, your own people, do your own merch, do your own music videos, have people that you can really rely on and trust, because the music industry and the film industry is full of opportunistic people taking advantage of each other, not fulfilling contracts, or, you know, doing what they should be doing. There's a lot of mistrust, and there's a lot of people screwing each other over and backbiting. It can be a very, very dirty world sometimes, the music industry and the film industries. But if you are able to have a team that you trust, like real people that and you can lean on each other and help each other and support each other and grow together, that is when magic really happens. And that is what Dimash clearly has, in a very big way, is the support of his family. He's got good friends around him. He's got mentors, and you know, he knows who he likes to work with, other musicians like Igor Krutoy, and you know, it's just, that's the key, you know. The stars need to align in so many ways. It's one thing to have amazing talent. It's then another thing to have incredible work ethic. It's then another thing to have the right people around you, and to not be put down by people, and to be encouraged by people. It's like all these things have got to line up in order to have success. And most of those things are things you can generally control yourself to some extent through trial and error, sometimes learning. You know, sometimes you'll get bitten, sometimes, you know, you kind of have to try all these different things until you finally have everything together like he does, and find success. So I find this very inspiring, this video, and yeah, really encouraging, really positive. Tune in next week. We are not actually going to be getting to part 4 because I've been talking to Leela C, and they are reworking part 4 at the moment. So they're going to be coming out in a slightly different order. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it won't be part 4 next. It will be another part coming out next, and then we'll be revisiting part 4 and coming back to it. I'll put them in order in the playlist when they're all completed. But yes, until next week, everybody, take care of yourselves. Peace and love.